Thank you. I just thought, I would start out by kind of sharing with you where I started, and I am by no means any sort of expert on any of this. In fact, I just kind of got thrown into this new position, and I absolutely love it, but I've had to do most of my research on my own. I haven't had college classes to get me here, so, obviously I have a degree, but I haven't taken classes specifically in this area. So, as I was reading and getting ready for this presentation, I ran across this statement, and I thought it kind of summed up what I thought. The most beautiful experience we can have is the mysterious, the fundamental emotion which stands at the cradle of true art and true science. So I'm Renee McGill. If you want to email me, part of why I wanted to do this is because sometimes I feel like with all of this new stuff, I would just love to talk to somebody about what they're doing, or get feedback or help with different things that other people have experience with that I don't. So feel free to email me, and I would love to have your contact information too, so we can maybe start kind of networking and form a community. So how I got to this crazy job is that I was a full-time teacher for 5 years and then stayed home with my daughters, and during that time I started my own art business. And as you know, there are not a lot of art shows here in Iowa, so it forced me to do a lot of traveling, and I was traveling a tremendous amount and realized I have a teaching degree. I could be home more than doing this. So I went back to teaching a couple of years ago, and the school that I was at had this awesome STEM program, and I thought it was really fascinating. And the gal across the hallway from me was like just this super STEM guru. And so I thought it was interesting, but our school was kind of lacking in art. I called it art on a cart. Our poor art teacher didn't have a room to work out of, so he had his stuff on a cart, went room to room, and my class got 30 minutes a week of art. And so in my heart I kept thinking, I love all this STEM stuff and I see the creativity there, but I feel like we're missing this key component, and I feel like the arts need to be a part of that. So I kind of started doing a little bit of reading, and each summer our school offers STEM camps, and teachers can sign up to teach them. And I thought, well, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do one that has to do with STEM plus art. So, being an elementary teacher, I went to the most trusted website I know, Pinterest, and looked up STEM plus art. And lo and behold, there are other weirdos out there like me who think that this is a thing. And so I was just like jumping around my classroom. I'm not the only one. I can't believe this. So I started reading, and I started looking at different people's blogs and checking out all kinds of different websites, and got really excited about it. Well, about that same time, I was in the search for a new position because the school I was at wasn't able to compensate teachers that great. And I have a daughter going to college who's now over at Iowa, and as you know, that's expensive. So I thought I need a position that's a little better paying, and was looking, and sure enough, I looked at Des Moines Christian, and they had a position for a STEAM coordinator. I was at a family gathering, and I looked at this and I went, you gotta be kidding me. I've done this reading all year, and I've taught this little camp, and now there's actually a job for this. And I told my relatives, and they're like, oh, you gotta apply. You're the only weirdo out there that would really get into this. You gotta do it. So I did, and I thought, well, they'll never even interview me because I don't have a degree in any of this. Well, they did interview me, and somehow they liked me. I don't know, and so that's how I got here. Well, because it's a new position, it's a new building as well. We had the same building, but they were able, through some fundraising and some gifts and different things, to expand the building. And so they felt that as a part of this new expansion, they were going to put 2 STEAM labs in this. So my upstairs is STEAM lab, art room. And what's really cool, and I'll show you in a minute, so I think you can kind of see in the pictures, but there are glass garage doors that come down between those rooms. So if we want to, we can open them all up and have this huge expanse, or shut them down and have 3 separate classrooms. Most of the time, I work with, if I can, with the door open and have the 2 big rooms, and then the art room is separate. But it's really a neat environment, and it's nice because the kids can look through those glass windows and see what the other classes are doing. Of course, we had to have a lot of pep talks about, you know, we're not going to put our face on the window and all that, but you know, we got there. So I'll show you a quick slideshow of what we've done this year. And just as it starts out, this is something we're going to come back to. So I just want you to notice the wind tunnel in this, because I'll tell you where you can get one. I hatched chickens this year. I'm not real smart. And we made butter last week. That's the chicken egg shell. Afterwards, we made mosaics with them. Those are animal habitats that the kids made. And those are greenhouses that we built out of seeding cases. This was a whole math activity that we did with pumpkin. I also did a slime lab this year with middle schoolers, again, not real smart. We also have sewing machines that have the ability to embroider, and we have elective classes to teach kids how to use those. Okay, and the last one, it was funny because I have kids come in and use the lab who are high schoolers, sometimes on their study hall, just because they want to do extra projects, and they saw the wind tunnel all set up in the water, and they're like, hey guys, let's all build some boats. And so that last one was some high school boats, but I thought that was kind of nice. Because it's harder sometimes to get them to get super excited. So this is why, just all the different reasons why it helps if you include the arts into STEM instead of keeping it separate. I feel like it's just such a, like the gals before me were saying, the kids struggle with creativity. And I think unfortunately right now, we're so tied to all of our screens that the kids aren't thinking for themselves. So I think that really making that an emphasis helps. So like I said, as I started, my job was I had a very vague framework, but there wasn't a lot of definition in exactly what my job would look like. So I got to kind of help form how that was going to be. Our K through 5th graders all have a set time where they come and work in my room as like a special. Their teacher comes with them, but they do have a scheduled time. I try to work with middle school classes about once a month, like as a culminating activity to what they're doing, or sometimes as an ongoing thing. I get them started and they bounce back and forth. High schoolers, it's a tougher sell to get them to me because they don't always have time in their rigid schedules. So as I said, I did a lot of research, and one of the TED Talks that I came across was this, and so I'll let you watch this real quick, but she just gives some really, really good, valid information about why doing this is so important. So I thought it might be helpful for you guys to take a look at it, and this might be something that you'd want to take back to your school and share with, your staff or your administrators. Oh yeah, there it goes. Okay.
In the 1990s, the National Science Foundation coined a term that swept educational institutions across the nation: STEM. Science, technology, engineering, and math. And after this talk, my goal is that each one of you watching will never look at this term the same way again. Because I have the help of 3 awesome people: Leonardo da Vinci, Albert Einstein, and Steve Jobs. Each of these great minds were not only built their careers on the abilities of STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, but they knew the crucial importance of art integration that yields STEAM: science, technology, engineering, art, and math. Oh. Hold on, there's way more. You guys are ready for a treat, because I'm about to take you through history, and we're gonna explore how each of these amazing figures, these great minds, they illustrated a STEAM-powered existence. We look first at Leonardo da Vinci. Not only was he known for his amazing masterpieces, but he was a scientist. He was a mathematician. And as you can see on lovely Mona Lisa here, he used the golden ratio, also known as the golden sector or the golden mean, which is simply a mathematical definition of beauty that gives you these proportions that are aesthetically pleasing to the eye, found in nature and elsewhere. Once again, here's our first candidate for a STEAM-powered individual. We go on to the life of Albert Einstein, 500 years later, and we explore not only a world-renowned physicist and the father of the theory of relativity, but we see that he was also a musician, a violinist, a concert pianist. And I just love how he summarizes it. It's epic. After a certain high level of technical skills achieved, science and art tend to coalesce in aesthetics, plasticity, and form. The greatest scientists are always artists as well. Finally, I bring you to our modern day with the innovative face of Apple, Steve Jobs. Once again, he quotes it amazingly. I couldn't have said it better, right? It's in Apple's DNA that science and technology is just perfect together, and technology alone is not enough. It's technology married with the liberal arts, married with the humanities, that yields the results that make our hearts sing. In other words, all the smartphones everyone's holding today, all the iPhones, those are brain children of STEAM. And now, let's discuss, now that we know what STEAM is and how it's been rocking our world for centuries, why does it matter today? Well, it just so happens that, unfortunately, with this increasing pressure of high test scores cranking out of our students in their math and writing and science fields, we're forgetting the importance of art integration. We're forgetting the importance of that A in STEM. According to the National Association of State Board of Education, the National Science Foundation is funded federally 20 times as much as our arts and humanities programs in the US. That means art integration in our current education system today isn't getting the proper funding, isn't getting those resources needed. And without that quality education, we're missing out on the opportunity to give our future generations the chance to develop a crucial tool. And I like to call it a brain tool or a paintbrush. As an engineering major in my sophomore year, every time I take a technical course, math, calculus, physics, it goes all the way to AutoCAD in my programming courses. I'm building these brain tools in my mind. I have a hammer, a screwdriver, a wrench. I'm putting them in my toolbox, my engineering toolbox that I'll bring with me into the outside world. But of late, as many good college students do, I've been questioning, right? Why? What's the point? Why am I getting all these brain tools? And how do I apply them to one another? How do I connect the dots to the bigger picture and create something unique, stand out, innovative, thinking outside of the box? So I walked into this 24-hour engineering competition at the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers Conference last fall, and I was given the ability to participate in this 24-hour extreme engineer competition, selected out of about 500 students. I had the ability to get on this team with 9 other students that I had never met before in my life from all over the US and Puerto Rico to innovate a random product that was given to us. And for this session, it was a cooler. We were just given a normal, basic, mundane cooler. And in that moment, a group of 10 crazy college kids who had never met before in their lives just became a small startup company out to transform this item, this cooler, into like this best-selling product that we're gonna sell to the judges and build a prototype, and with incredibly limited resources and a budget of about $100. We were totally up to the challenge. We created a company logo, not just to physically redesign the product itself, but we have to create a marketing strategy, shoot a commercial, give bundling and packaging designs, like I said, a logo design. I mean, the list was endless, and we did this all in 24 hours. So even at 3:30 in the morning, when we all looked like my friend Angel here, passed out under the tables, we were still able to feed these awesome ideas, right? We were still innovatively thinking, creatively applying this concept of a paintbrush. I was blessed to be on a team of kids who were okay doing that. And quite honestly, without that creative mindset, without that thinking outside the box, we wouldn't have placed top 5, and I wouldn't have been able to continue on to get Extreme Engineer of the Year. Quite honestly, it was an amazing competition and a perfect illustration of STEAM. This workshop demonstrated to me how critical it was to show up with not just your STEM, your science, your technology, or your engineering, your math, but to show up with the A, with the arts, with that paintbrush, with the innovative tools that we had all developed somehow, quite luckily, in our education system, because quite honestly, it's not fed to us anymore. And that's the issue. We're missing that A in STEM. The STEAM that ultimately is going to help transform our future and give our future generations the ability to think outside the box, to create what they need to with their STEM brain tools, they're missing that A, and they need that STEAM. Because STEAM-powered futures, STEAM-powered individuals is what is going to paint our world's better future.
Okay, so that was one of the things that motivated me to look more into STEAM. So when I start a project with my students, like I said, I see lots of students K through 12. I usually start with that engineering design process, and I'm sure you guys are all familiar with it. Ask, imagine, plan, create, improve, and reflect. And I'm finding that the most challenging part of doing that with kids is watching them fail and letting them fail. It's really, really hard to stand back and see, like with those greenhouses that we made out of the CD cases, that was a hot mess a lot of days. And we were using this glue, and I don't recommend it because I think I left there a little loopy a few days. And by the end of the day, other teachers were like, hey, can I come up for a while? Sure. So it was a little crazy up there. But so we had to revise that. I mean, I learned too. We had to switch what glue we were using and try different things. But the kids really had to work as teams to make that happen. And like I said, some of them, the ones I put on the pictures, are kind of okay to look at. There are some that are pretty not so great. So I wanted to give you a chance because I know when I come to things like this, sometimes people scroll through things really quickly and you don't have the opportunity to actually look at the stuff and see if it's something that might be useful for you. So if you can go to this page in the presentation, one of the things, if you're familiar with this, then just skate through it. But one of the things I found when I was trying to plan, and this is something that would work, I wish I would have known about this when I was teaching in a regular classroom, but it's just a great planning tool. I use it with all my classes, and now it's really easy for me. On the upstart of it, it's a little bit hard to, not hard, but just a little time consuming to get set up. But the beautiful part about this is you can click on your week and you can see all of your lessons, and you can even, when you click on the lesson, you can upload units from your Google Drive right there. And then I can just say, well, day 1 for this unit. And then like today when I was going to be gone, I could click there and I could just print that for the sub and I was done. So it was really quick and easy. It has, like I said, you can include your units. There's even a part of this that you can use for grading. I don't use that because I don't have to do grades in my position, but it would be real handy and it's worth taking a look at. That wind tunnel that I talked about, I wasn't aware until recently that Drake has a STEM hub for teachers to use, and they have lots of materials there that you can check out for free. And that wind tunnel was one of the things I checked out. It's 4 big box fans, and you couldn't see the other side of it, but there is an actual tunnel on it. And Sarah is great, she's very helpful. She's got all of those EIE kits there that you can check out too. Engineering is elementary, I think is what that stands for. So if you're interested in those, that's a great resource too. Better Lesson has been invaluable. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but if you're using NGSS Standards, it is so helpful. You can click on Browse Standards, and you can say, okay, kindergarten, I'm going to do life sciences, and then here's your standard right here. There's 155 lessons that you can take a look at. And the nice thing is, you guys, some of these lessons have PowerPoints in them. They have worksheets that you can print, tons of great stuff. I go to this all the time, and sometimes, I mix and match. I take something from one and something from something else, and I add my own spin on it. But it's just a great place to start if you're clueless with the standard and what it means and what you want to do with it. It also has ELA and math. I don't use those quite as often, but the science one has been great for me and very, very helpful. Let's see. Teachers are terrific. This is just one of those teachers pay teachers people, but she has some awesome STEM quests and just really great challenges to do. They're really easy to use and really, they're pretty much right there, and I can pull out the challenges. I like that they have a nice component to it where the kids can record their data, so I don't have to print that up. So that's just a handy tool. And if you guys have 3D printers, which I'm trying to learn how to use our 3D printer. I'm getting there. I have some high school kids who come and help me sometimes, and they just laugh, oh, Mrs. McGill, and try to help me. But Tinkercad is great if you're trying to learn. And even if you don't have a 3D printer, this is great for designing. And again, I know a lot of you probably already know about it, but if not, what I thought was nice is that you can go to the Learn, and there are step-by-step lessons. So you can just say to the kids when you start this, okay guys, before you can even think about making anything or printing anything, you have to show me that you've gone through all these steps. So I thought that was really a handy component of that. And some of the things I'm learning about 3D printing is that, and I'll show you this next, it's Thingiverse. It's a great tool, and it has a ton of stuff on here that you can print, but that's what kids want to do. They want to find stuff and print it. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's something to be learned in it, because sometimes the things that they choose work and sometimes they don't, because it's just people like us who've uploaded that stuff there. But there's so much more to it. That's why I try to not let them find that for a little bit and guide them towards Tinkercad first, because then they've got to actually use their own brains to do the designing. So that's a fun thing for you to take a look at and check out. Growing a STEM Classroom is just a really good blog. It's just, like I said again, engineering challenges. And so many times, I mean, it's tough because I know as a classroom teacher, I would think, I would love to do this, but I need all this stuff and all this planning, and I don't have time for that because I'm teaching reading and math and writing, and I can't do all that. So sometimes just maybe challenge yourself once a month to find a STEM challenge and do it, and a lot of times it's very simple materials. It can be as simple as spaghetti and marshmallows or sugar cubes or cups. So, you know, I had a STEM challenge for our whole school where they were supposed to build something with tiny glasses, and the high schoolers really got into it. So you never know. Sometimes you think, oh, this is simple, and the older kids aren't really going to buy into it, but it's surprising some of the things that they actually like. This other resource is great. I haven't had time to dig through all of it, but it's Cathie Schrock's Guide to Everything, and she has just a ton of links on here, especially if you're interested in 3D printing, because like I said, I feel like I'm still learning it, and I'm a long ways from feeling like I've conquered this. That's my PD goal for this year. So anyway, that's a great place to go if you're wanting to look at that. And then also she's got other publications that aren't all, I don't think, 3D printing, different things she's got links to that are really helpful. Okay. So I brought with me some tools that I like to use that help to get kids thinking and using their hands and using this engineering design process. And I always go back to what technology really is, because, you know, the kids will instantly tell you it's cell phones, it's computers, but sometimes it's just something like a toothbrush that was designed to solve a problem. So I always remind the kids of that. It doesn't have to be fancy. And our school is fortunate in that they've taken time over years, and thankfully Heartland has, you know, helped us guide this, that we have a lot of tools, but some of them can be just as simple as spaghetti and marshmallows. I mean, you don't have to have these fancy kits to do STEAM stuff. But I will show you what we have, just so that if you're interested in those things, you'll have firsthand experience with them and can say, you know, what they do. So one of the things that was new to me this year is Kiva Planks. And honestly, if you have a handy person in your community, they're just little wooden blocks. And we have this huge bin of them. I just brought a few of them for you to take a look at. But in the video, there were some pictures of kids building with them. And again, even the high schoolers come in and tinker around with these. It just reminds me of when I was a kid playing with dominoes, because you can just do so many different things with them. And sometimes I use them to have the kids build a model of what they're going to be making, because it's easy. I mean, you know, you can just knock it down afterwards and see if your model is going to work or not. So that's really easy. An expansion on the Kiva Planks is this Kiva Maker, and it's just a little kit. But the fun part about it is, and there was one of the slides that had this set up too, there's a little robot in here, and the person who created this got the inspiration when he was brushing his teeth. As you can tell, it looks like a toothbrush. But the kids can make a maze, and there's different parts and pieces in here that they can use, and then when they get done, they turn on their little thing. It's kind of like a hex bug, and it will bounce through the thing, and they can see if their maze worked. So those are both just really pretty simple things. Both of them you could probably kind of create on your own, especially, like I said, if you have somebody handy who could cut up all that wood. The next thing is, you've probably heard of this, you probably used it, but the Breakout EDU, and if you click on that, what I didn't realize, we're just starting with this, so we just got a kit. And honestly, this again is something you can make. And the only reason we ordered one is because we wanted to see it firsthand, and then we thought after that we could try to make some of our own. But this is a box that's inside, and then there are all different locks and puzzles to solve. And I'll just have this up here if you want to come and take a look at it, feel free. But if you click on that link, what's really neat about this is all of these games are free, which I didn't really realize, or I think a big part of them are. But they're broken down on the platform to, different areas. And I have a daughter who's in 6th grade, and she's done this at her school, absolutely loves it. And like I said, we're just in the process of starting this, so I'm by no means any expert. I watched another school do it, and I have one planned for next week, so I can let you know how it turns out with my 3rd grade class. So it's a really good thing. When I watched it, it was interesting because, you've always got those kids that are kind of on the fringe and don't want to participate. So there's almost things you can do from what I saw and what I witnessed, and you probably have experience with it, but it looked like it would be work really well too to do it with small groups. This particular one I watched was a whole class doing it at once, but I think if you broke the kids into groups of 5 or 6, it might be a little easier to manage. So that's that. It's worth checking out. And this is 3D printing. And I will show you a quick it's just 6 reasons to integrate it into your classroom.
Assistant professor here at Seton Hall University in the new College of Communication and the Arts in the area of art, design, and interactive media. For tangible models, physical examples of architectural objects, historical objects, molecular structures, interactive learning aids, to have an actual interactive object where you can hold it, see the details is very, very useful. The second reason would be it is technology of our time. It is very relevant. Architects are using it for model making. Artists and engineers are using it to create innovative and new designs. The social theorist Jeremy Rifkin states it as being a very important player in the third industrial revolution. It's a very easy way to make your courses more interdisciplinary. 3D models require files which have to be produced through a computer-aided design. So you have to know a little bit about the design process, about modeling, about the math that might go into that, about the engineering of it. So it's a great way to either team classes up to work together on how to create those models, or just to take a look at the software and step back to see how they might have been made. Ignite or spark creativity and imagination. The idea that anything is possible, that you can produce any form that you can imagine, allows your imagination to go wild, and students have a really exciting epiphany moment when they learn that anything that they can think of can be produced. Working this way allows people to increase their spatial intelligence or their ability to visualize three-dimensional forms in their mind's eye. So the virtual information that's created in the computer takes a tangible form. So you're able to work abstractly in the computer, but then have that object in your hands. It's exciting to be able to tinker and explore. Not everyone has seen one working at this point, so there's a lot of excitement and kind of buzz around just the fact that these things exist, and they're becoming far more accessible. If 3D printing is something that you'd like to introduce into your classroom, I'd be happy to talk with you about any ideas you may have for your classes.
Okay, so and I will tell you, it's very foreign to me, this whole 3D printing thing. And so I'll give you an example of what I did this year. I'm trying to learn how to use it. So I just printed this week, not very impressive. And there's a thing, I don't know if you all are familiar with this, but downtown Des Moines, there is a makerspace for adults. And I thought, well, I'm gonna check that out and see what it's all about. They have a lot of 3D printers down there and different cutting machines and things like that. And they also have meetups that you can sign up for. And if you go to a meetup, it's people who are all interested in the same subject, and you go there and then they discuss it. So I saw on their site, well, they're having a meetup for 3D printing. So I get to this meetup and I'm trying to print something similar to this, and it looks like a little cup that has chicken legs on it that I designed on Tinkercad. And so, I couldn't get it to print. I thought, well, maybe one of these people can help me print my chicken cup. And so I get down there, and these guys are like super engineers. One of them, his first design project was a model of one of the World Trade Centers. And I'm pulling up my Tinkercad and going, oh, could you help me with my chicken cup, you know? And so, so I very quickly felt like I was way in over my head. So if any of you are experts at that and would like to help me out and collaborate with me on that, I would love to learn more about it. I can design something very simple and print it, but that's about as far as I've gotten. I do have students, however, that are much more proficient than me, and they are teaching me, and they, one of the projects that we're planning to do in this spring, and this was an idea that a gal from the Science Center gave me, is each kid is gonna have the challenge to design a chess piece, and they will have specific dimensions that chess piece has to be, so that when we get all done, we'll have a complete set at the end, which I thought was a really good idea and really pretty simple. And I did find on, I don't know if it's Tinkercad or Thingiverse, one of them does have chess pieces on there. So it'd be easy to model that, somewhere to start, and very simple for someone like me who can't even master a chicken cup. So another thing that we have that the kids get super excited about are these Cuba Mazes. It's kind of like a marble maze, but it goes upwards, and they have these little metal marbles that go through them. Again, it's surprising that all ages of kids love to mess with this stuff. And yesterday, as I was packing up stuff and carting it through the hallway, I had 4 or 5 students stop me. Where are you going with that? Do we get to use those stuff today? When we're up there, are we going to use this stuff? And I said, no, not today, but I'm taking it for some grown-ups to play with. And then Spheros is something else that we do, and our kids get so excited about Spheros. Have you guys had experience with Spheros? Some of you have, some of you haven't. You can get an app for your iPads, and you can do coding with them. So I'll just show you a quick little blip on those. And you're welcome, like I said, to come up and play. I brought an iPad if you want to come and play with those when we have breaks.
You're really disguising the learning in the fun. There's so much learning that they're getting that they don't even realize. The math, the science, and all the skills, and the coding and the technology that they were creating for themselves. I guess what got me started with Sphero was I saw it at a birthday party, was listening to another teacher speak, you know, how she was using it in her classroom. I was thinking, oh my gosh, I could do this. Came back to school the next day and was talking to my kids and said, you know, hey, I saw this great new product and found out a bunch of my kids already had it. And so just kind of started an informal club before school. And our club started with probably me and 4, maybe 5 other students. As other students started to see, you know, what we were doing and what we were making, the numbers grew and swelled, and we had, I want to say, 30 plus students by the end of the year. I made the jump from the club to the classroom when my assistant principal and my principal came down and said, you know, hey, what's the commotion going on down here? And I showed them, and I expressed an interest in bringing Sphero to my classroom. And once they saw the possibilities, from there it was very easy to incorporate into the classroom. My students love it. We do Sphero just about every Friday, and I've got a big glass head that has a light bulb in it. That is our, hey, today's Sphero day. And when they come in and they see that, they know that they're in for some fun. The kids just jumped into the missions right away. Each and every week, you know, I'd write these impossible missions, figuring, hey, they're, you know, they'll never get it. They were just nailing them so quick and so fast that they kept challenging me as a teacher. They're getting everything and they're growing so fast. You know, what can I possibly give them next time? And after a while of scratching my head and going, oh my gosh, what am I going to do next? You know, one of my students came up and said, you know, hey, can I design the next one? I've got an idea. And then that was kind of my eureka moment. It's very rare that you can kind of step back and just go, take it. And for me, it just shows that these kids are capable of so much more than we give them credit for. Some of the missions that they created, they would have to build props for. They would learn 3D CAD design, and they were printing things on my 3D printer. The level of growth without me even pushing them was just amazing. I think a lot of times as teachers we get bogged down in the books, you know, hey, we got to be to this page by this time. I think that if we just slow down, I think those things can be discussed and incorporated into a lot more, you know, student-driven activities. And then when we step back and we always debrief the activity afterwards, I'm like, oh my gosh, did you guys realize that you were doing this? And there's always this, oh my gosh, we're doing that in math. Or, hey, that's fractions. And, that's dividing decimals. And that's what I love about Sphero. In my classroom, it's done away with, why do we have to do this? And the question's been, well, when can we do this again? So, I mean, it's really kind of changed the way kids see their own education, I think. And the most rewarding thing for me is, getting to the end of a class and running out of time and then just seeing them go, oh no, let's go 10 more minutes. So just to see them that involved in their learning, it's reinstilled that reason why I started teaching to begin with. I have, in all my years, never had as much fun as I've had this year. I have never grown as much as I've grown this year as an educator. I've never seen more excitement with my kids, my students. I've never seen as much growth with my students as I have this year. It's just absolutely been a pleasure to work with Sphero and to have, my little round friend join my classroom, and I just hope it continues.
Yep, and the kids get super excited when they know it's time to work with the Spheros. The thing that I've learned from doing them is, first of all, don't feel like you have to be an expert if you want to use them, because I'm not. And like he said, if you jump in, the kids can do way more with it, and they'll teach you how to use it before you know it. The second thing is there is a educator part on Sphero where it will help teach you and give you some lesson ideas. And as far as the coding, there's quite a bit of stuff on there for how to code them, because I guess I feel like if they're just driving them around, then it's an expensive remote control car. So really the coding piece is super important in that. Give them challenges, things to solve. And again, I have high school kids who come in and use those too. So it isn't just an elementary thing. And the kindergartners can manipulate them too. So it's kind of an all ages kind of thing, which works well for my space. Legos and EB3s, Legos are just a regular old thing. We have, with our Legos, we have our media specialist has created challenges, which are great. And so, again, it's a simple thing, but all ages of kids love for you to just pass out those challenges and for them to have some fun building. And I think it's fun to walk around and see what they come up with. And then the last thing, or I don't know if this is my last thing, but the other thing, I think it is my last thing, is the Ozobot. Have you guys done Ozobots before? Or Ozobot? I don't know. I say Ozobot. Yeah. But it, again, is a coding type thing. The nice thing about this is if you do it with younger kids, you can do it with markers. We have markers that came with it, but you don't have to use those markers. You can use Crayola markers or any kind of markers. And there are a lot of resources online that you can print off, guides that tell you how to code them to make them do different things. So my daughters and I were playing with them last night, but if you haven't had a chance to play with them, basically there's just a little button on here. You turn it on and it will do different things and follow this track as long as the line is wide. And I was looking around for some different ideas to use those with, and I saw a really neat idea where some kids had made like a little haunted house, and the little bot had to go through the haunted house and do that. So that's a really fun thing too. I'll show you, I think we have enough time. I'll show you that real quick.
A small robot that reads color code. It has a sensor on the bottom that reads the codes you see right here. To create codes, you use the colors black, red, green, and blue. Some codes relate to speed, others direction. Timers are codes where your Ozobot will move and then stop. It will turn back on after a certain amount of seconds. There's also cool moves. When creating paths for your Ozobot, you want to make sure that your path is not too thin or too thick. You want your path to be around that thick. If it's this thin, it will be hard for it to read it. And if it's this thick, your Ozobot will move back and forth on the line, and it will be very
too thick,
difficult
but you
for
get the
it.
gist.
When the Ozobot travels on a black line, it shows.
So yeah, those are a great tool to use with kids too. That's all I have. And like I said, I have all of these things here, so you're welcome to come up and check them out. Oh, one more thing. When I was digging around and trying to learn more about my position, I did come across this book, and it is a really good resource. And it has a lot of lesson ideas in the back, which I think are great. So you're welcome to take a look at that and see if it might be something that's useful for you. And feel free to email me. And if you are an expert at 3D printing, I'd love to talk to you. Thank you.